Jon Hutton, um, can you give us a brief introduction about your professional job and as well as the content creation that you're doing right now?
Okay, so I work at a paper mill. So that I just load rolls and paper rolls and stuff onto trucks. But it's pretty much a job that pays for the bills, but one that also allows me to a lot of time to think and get creative. So aside from that, I do quite a few things. I do photography, filmmaking, graphic design, visual effects. I make music. I'm a drummer, bass player, keyboard player. I also rap. Um, I make comedy skits. Do drone video. There's a lot of stuff. Anything pretty much in art that I've done, I kind of mix it up. Um, I've always had a passion for all of these things. So I've been trying to narrow it down a little bit more. And even like we discussed earlier, was I do drone video and I can get very like emotional, and I'll have this stuff that's more emotional, some good music and more artistic, but then I'll have this side where I do skits, and most of them are just kind of playful, fun skits, but I also will touch on pretty personal things, at least for myself, and then try to lighten the situation a bit more by joking about it personally. Outside of that, I like to volunteer. I do a lot of volunteer work, at least with my content. I also have blood donor, bone marrow. I help out. I've been to different behavior hospitals and stuff, or also I've been kind of an entertainer there. Um, I don't know. I like to entertain people, and I pretty much have just used every avenue possible to entertain people. And now I just recently I've made some kind of the raps that I do are skits, but yet still out there on iTunes and everything. And I'm slowly starting to evolve it more to bump up the humor and kind of die down the so much personal stuff so that way I can relate with more people. But other than that, I'm very open and willing to help other people as well as create content with people, collaborate with people. So I'm a busy bee.
Cool. What is the you do a lot of stuff for content creation.
Yeah.
Have you narrowed down a few things that you're gonna do in content creation after this journey of content creation?
Few things I'd like to do.
Yeah. Have you narrowed it down to specific
Basically, well,
things?
right now, yeah. So I like doing the comedy skits, but I also like the artistic side. So truthfully, I'm still trying to figure out a way to combine that together, or maybe I take the music a little bit more seriously, but then still have the comedy and then make higher quality stuff where I can still get out there and get, do the cinematography that I want to do, and then make good quality content. But the one goal that I've always led up to is having a studio where I can help produce other content creators. And right now I have a home with a lot of studio equipment, but I'd like to get to the point where I have a studio space where I can work with other people as well. And that way we could be producing content, as a unit, and help other people who are interested in learning more.
Right. Content creation. What is the mission of all this? What are you striving for? What?
Because I know it's something that I love. It's a passion. So no matter what, it's something I'm always going to do. But the thing is what you can do with it matters. And since I like doing more outreach stuff, I can, you know, touch base with more people. Even when it comes to money or foundations, you can do more, when you have when you can make the content, when you have the reach and everything, you can make more of an impact. So ultimately, I'd like to make a bigger impact by doing something that I personally can't live without doing. Because before YouTube, TikTok, all these places, I was making videos, I was into filmmaking, and it's something that kind of became a part of me to where I always feel the need to create. So I like to help. I've been trained to be an EMT. Once upon a time, I was going to be a police officer. But these are all things that I've used to do outreach. And right now, I've kind of looked at it like I don't need to be an ENT or something, but I can do outreach through my content. So by helping people through using my content. So that's why I'm saying like the end goal would be a studio where I can actually do that type of outreach and other people can make content. We could be making content that will help improve situations, have a foundation, and it would all be a way to benefit different areas, you know, and a lot of that is focused on mental health, disabilities, especially. Um, but there's just, I look at it as an opportunity to do so much more. And I'm still trying to combine all these interests into one beneficial way. And really, a studio is kind of how I see it. But yet, I'm still pretty open and seeing where that goes.
What's the end goal of the impact that you want to make for people? Say you have the studio, say you have everything, and you guys are creating the content. How does the day look like for you where you have all this studio and you reach your end goal? What sort of impact for the people would you like to have?
So really, I myself have come firsthand with people that have struggled because any life that I can touch, you know, anybody that I can help is big. And right now, I live near Portland, Oregon, and for them, they have a drug problem in Portland. And one thing that I can do right now is I carry this stuff around called Narcan. It can save somebody's life from an overdose. I can go and administer that and save somebody's life. The thing is, though, is like touching people and getting to them involved in other things. So bigger outreach for like another foundation I personally like too is the Wildland Firefighter Foundation, but it's support for the people that don't have it for the most part. And then also in every area you can do for mental health, especially, you know, there's plenty of outreach out there, but yet in my area, like this doesn't not really exist. So it's kind of getting myself involved to where um, outreach for mental health, disabilities, and stuff, and give them a location where I can actually get them more involved. So even if it's a few lives or if it's 100, like that's kind of the end goal. And doing that through something that I personally love and still keep that creating going, are raising money for different causes would ultimately be the goal. I set a goal personally for myself, which, you know, like I'm not going to know exactly where this money goes until I get it, but I wanted to donate half my income. And the thing is like right now, half my income that I currently make goes into making content. So as soon as that makes a turn where I can actually get a return from it, I would like to take half my income to foundations and causes. And right now, I know mental health is a big one for me, and kids with disabilities.
Mental health. Like after watching all your content, it's somewhat like the last thing that I would think about of you mentioning about the purpose, the mission that
Yeah.
you're striving for. What 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 got you so into mental health? What's driving you towards it? What got you
So
started?
so it became a problem for me. So I was married and I had two kids, um, but mental health affected me. A lot of it was from sleep. I had different medications that started to affect it too. But I was getting to the point of burnout, and a lack of sleep, being deprived, really affected me, and it started to affect my relationship. And then the more that it affected my relationship, the worse that got. And then I ended up getting a divorce, and then it got worse again. Had other relationships, but then slowly more. It seemed like everything. I'm in this pursuit to achieve my dream, and it seemed like anything that could go wrong went wrong, and it went wrong to the point where I was suicidal. So many things went wrong to the point where I actually got to the point of a suicide attempt. And at that point, I experienced what true mental health and what it's like to live with these disabilities, how you're being treated and everything. And once, you know, I experienced that, it became very difficult because now I'm looking at it like anybody else that has, you know, like I understand where people are coming from. And for me, it's maybe it's something that was just meant to be, but to be in that position, experience this stuff and see what it's really like. And for people who don't understand the concerns of like why mental health is so important and why proper care is so important, like it opened my eyes for me. So through the loss of kids, wife, house, car, everything, pretty much lost everything. Came down to a point where I was suicidal. And then at that point, I had a suicide attempt and I was sent to a behavior hospital. And then there, I slowly had to pick myself back up. And knowing what that felt like and knowing where I was, and then now even looking back and sitting there thinking, like, that's a person that I would immediately run to now to try to help. But I didn't have anybody running to me at the time. I was alone in this. And it's difficult. And it made me realize I was calling all over for mental health help. And everything was like 2 months out with this doctor, or maybe like a month out was the closest I could get, when everything seems so urgent. Because with mental health, it is urgent, but we don't really have urgent mental health care. So that's one thing I kind of realized. And the only urgent care you're going to get is if there's a suicide attempt, or if you have drug abuse and there's drug charges, or if you're an alcoholic, substance abuse, and you get in a car accident. That's when you get the immediate help. Other than that, immediate help doesn't exist.
What got you through, like, doing that?
It took a lot of rewiring, I think. So before this all happened, I listened to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, a lot of influential people. And the thing is for me, I was in no position to be doing any type of work or creating content. But yet that mindset, kind of like a success mindset, be strong-minded, that's pretty much what got me there, because I just had to keep thinking like, it's not what's happening now, it's what's happening later, this too shall pass, so I was constantly thinking about what I was aiming for. So at the very bottom, like this is rock bottom, I'm sitting there in like horrible financial position, emotionally, physically, even because I had an injury and suicide attempt, didn't have my kids, nothing. So I'm at the very rock bottom, and all I could think about was where I'll be tomorrow, and I couldn't get caught up on what was happening today. Because the thing is you're gonna have bad days, and if you cannot adjust your mindset or rewire yourself to believe that the grass is greener, a lot of those sayings that we always hear, grass is greener on the other side. But the thing is, it takes work to get there. You're still climbing a hill to get there. And I just had to keep thinking that the whole time, that this is going to pay off. Every action I make today is going to benefit me tomorrow. Any step back that I take is just going to be another step back. So I was constantly thinking, if I can improve a little bit each day, I'll make it there. And I just had an end goal in mind. And that was my focus. And I'm still driving towards it. I'm still getting better. I'm still going through things that are difficult, but yet at the same time, I'm redirecting my focus and I'm just working my way through it.
During that period, like, you wanted to improve.
Oh yeah.
Is there particular people that you are doing it for? Were you thinking about others?
So yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, absolutely. So number one priority is my kids. So I'm thinking about my kids and stuff, getting there. And I want to get to a point where, college, if they need it, like they're taken care of. And even my ex-wife, who, even though we weren't on the greatest of terms, that's still somebody who will benefit from it. But I'm trying to sit there and think, I'm one person, but I know what I can do. So I know I can benefit a lot more people if I get to this point, to this person that I have, built in my head, these affirmations, to the person that I came up with, the person that I want to become. I know that if I can become that person, there will be thousands of people, hopefully hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people that will benefit from it. So meanwhile, I'm thinking what I can do later, and that's what's building me up. And the thing is that's a goal that I am driven to achieve no matter what. And I got to the point where I just kept telling myself that it's not going to happen any other way anymore. Les Brown had a quote where he said, shoot for the moon, but if you miss it, you land amongst the stars. And that's pretty much what I'm doing.
If you are able to go back in time with your present self, what will you say to the person that's struggling and not having any help? Like,
Well, there's a lot of different places that I would have suggested myself to go, but honestly, going back in time, I wouldn't actually want to change anything because I know where it put me now. So if I could go back in time, I would just say, sorry, you're gonna have to figure it out on your own because that's what gets you there. So like you have to go through it. And there's no real shortcut or anything. You're meant to go through it and you're meant to figure it out, because if you do, I have this saying that success is forged by failure. So every step, every time you fail, it's like a staircase and you're just walking up this failure, until you get to the top, to the success. It's going to happen, but it's better if you have to grind, you figure it out on your own, and like you're going to be left alone, but that's where, you become. So like diamonds are forged, under immense amount of pressure. So that's exactly how you become a diamond. You're just immense amount of pressure, you figure it out, and then you come out on top. If you're constantly being bailed out or somebody's coming along to help, yeah, it's the easier route. But I think the best people go through the most. And really, I wouldn't go help the old me. I wanted the old me to go through everything to get to where I am today. And I'm still working on it. So I don't want me in the future to say anything either.
what does success means to you? How does it look like?
So success to me is a pretty high standard. But the thing is, if you're living happy, if you're happy with what you do, you're doing what you love, that is success to me. Because I think if you're doing what you love and you are making a living from it, you can take care of your family and everything, that is success to me. But yet my standard for success is pretty high, because for me, I'm thinking success is taking care of a lot of different people for me, doing a lot of outreach, and achieving these goals that I have. They're pretty high, but like a studio, being known for content and everything that's out there, and then meanwhile having my own foundation, a lot of outreach for people locally, and that would be my success. And I know that I'd be happy doing it, because ideally you can be successful as long as you're happy with what you're doing. You're doing what you love, and I'm doing what I love. But yet I just know that my goals just keep getting higher and higher, and every time I achieve one, another one pops up. So my success is kind of limitless right now, and I plan to just keep achieving that.
From what I hear is a lot of the things that you're doing is for serving others. Content creation and everything is also serving others. Like, why you like to help so many people? Like, how many people do you want to help?
Millions of people. And really, I just like putting a smile on somebody's face. I've always been that way. When I was a kid, I would entertain people. I really like Chris Farley. So I used to do like Chris Farley skits, like reenact, things from Chris Farley, just to entertain people in my family, aunts, uncles, whatever. And I've always just liked to be able to entertain, make somebody laugh. But the thing is I never really had a point in my life where like I couldn't do that for myself anymore. Like I needed somebody to be there for me. And it was nice that happened, because it created a version of myself where I was there for myself. I didn't need somebody to pick me up. I ended up being there for myself in a different way. And that grew this whole nother part of me, which is for outreach and like helping people, like medically, mental health, everything. And now that I have this other care of not just entertaining people, making people laugh, now I want to help people when it comes to issues such as this. And that brings me joy, and that's my number one priority. And I know what how success can get me that. Money can get me that too. And it's just like I'm constantly going to be using any avenue I have, to get there.
What's your creative process like creating your content? Because there's a lot of different kinds of content that you're actually making.
Yeah.
We're seeing music, we're seeing comedy skits. Yeah, what's the creative process like? on creating?
It's funny. I've been asked this question before, and it's so like there's no real answer. It's just like I create what I feel like the mood that I'm in is heavily influencing everything, that I do. So for me, if I have a day where I could go travel somewhere to go get some drone shots or do some photography or something, I'll go out there and do that. And it's motion drives so much of what I do. And then I'll be in this state, throughout the day where it's just like a very contemplative state of peace where there's some good music that plays with this drone video, and then the next day I'm thinking jokes in my head, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, okay, thinking of some jokes, listening to some music. So then I just start making a beat, and it's just pretty much whatever comes to me there and then. And I don't have any order to that. I just play off of how I feel that day, and that's how it's been working now. And before I planned ahead more, and I haven't been doing that as much, but yet I create more content if I'm not constantly planning. I'm kind of just like acting off how I feel. And I know like a painter or something is going to act off of how they feel more. If like I used to draw, I used to just kind of draw whatever I was feeling. But that's how I've been with different content. And I kind of had this point where drone video or like photography, even some Photoshop, I'll do because I'm feeling very emotional or sentimental. Like I'll have this feeling of peace, but then every now and then I just kind of laugh at myself or something comes up and I try to laugh it off. And then suddenly I'm thinking music, and typically it's with music because I play drums. Like I can't play the drums without thinking up a new beat, so then I'll go make a beat and then I'll try to think of some lyrics and stuff to it. But it's entirely emotional. It's like whatever my emotion is that day. And the thing that I like about it is it keeps me at peace by doing that. It's like I'm expressing myself, and just by allowing myself to express whatever it is that I'm feeling, it has been a big variety of stuff, but yet it's kept me at peace. It's like what keeps me level headed.
What's your most successful content so far? At least in
Oh
your
man,
opinion.
honestly, I don't really know. I haven't paid attention to that, but the most success because this is going way back. So when I was
Right.
15 years old, I did a music video that was Andy Milonakis, who was on MTV2. It was a contest for him, and I remember I made it into the finals, me and one other guy, kid, and there was a bunch of views on that. And then I did a parody video a few years later on YouTube that had quite a few views, but I think everything was always around like the most I got was like 100,000, views. And it's not the most, but yet, I don't know. It was just, I never really paid that much attention to it after. But I know that it hurt when I would only get like 10 likes or something. I stopped paying attention to that. So then that way I could really just dive into the work itself, and it's something that you can't pay attention to because whatever you're not doing today, well, it can pay off tomorrow. You can have one thing that lands, and then everything that you made over the last year, or suddenly something can go viral a year ago. And songs, same thing. You can have a trending song that's 7 years old, and then suddenly it's everywhere. So really, you can't get too hung up on what's happening right now. You just have to keep running with the creative process, and that's successful. Eventually, you'll be there. But it's just about not giving up.
How
So
long
yeah, as far as
yeah.
well, I was gonna say, as far as like content, there's different content that I feel more proud of than others for sure. But I've been making shorter form stuff that is a little bit more that can get out there a little bit more as of recently. But yeah, as far as any one thing, there's just too many things that I've done.
How long have you been creating content for? Like when did you start it?
So it first started with my mom's video camera and my brothers and sisters and stuff and cousins using it to make fake talk shows. And this started when I was 7. But by the time I was 10, I started being the one that would go sneak into my mom's closet to grab her video camera. And I started making videos with, friends and stuff. So that was when I was 10 years old. So I'm about to turn 35. So almost 25 years ago, I started doing this. And then this was dial-up internet, so you couldn't really put videos on
Right.
online or anything then. That all came right about the time that I was graduating high school. So I've been doing it for almost 25 years now. And that's why I kind of do so much. I have so many different things that I do because I pretty much started that way. I had a landscaping business that I used to do all my work. So I would just do that for money and then go to garage sales, buy lamps and things like that for lighting, buy old sheets for backdrops. And I just had to learn things that way. So I made my own business cards. I learned how to do graphic design so that way I could make my own design for my business cards. That way I could make the money to make the videos. So it kind of forced me to branch out and do more just because I didn't have the money or the resources to do it.
If you are able to give just one advice to all those aspiring content creators out there, what will you give them? What will you tell them?
I would say only do what you love, because if you are getting tired of it, if you're getting burnt out and stuff doing it, then it's not something that you should be doing. And then never give up. If it's something you truly love, don't give up no matter what. I've been doing it way longer than a lot of people. And if you're complaining about not being seen or something on TikTok or Instagram, oh, I've been there. So don't give up.
When was your earliest discovery of what you like doing? Like if you are able to
Um,
recall now.
I think so that Andy Milonakis rap I was talking about that when I was 15. I actually liked that. I never took it that seriously, but I was in a band, and I actually kind of I enjoy making beats and music, but it's the whole comedy aspect of it. And at that time, I only knew of like Weird Al. So this is something that is still fairly new to me. Like I've just kind of dabbled, but it's something that I enjoy doing. Like I always have beats and stuff going in my head. So it's something that I'm going to venture out into more and try to perfect, but it's something that I never really spent that much time on. But I came across that when I was 15, and it was just kind of like made a lot of people laugh, and I enjoyed making people laugh. And even though if it was only like local, even like a lot of local people knew me, and like in high school, it was just people coming up to me making them laugh. So I kind of put on this whole act. Even in my day-to-day life, it's just kind of about making people laugh, and I always enjoyed that. And I've always been that person for everybody else too, until I became the person that needed somebody to make me laugh, and I needed that because I dealt with the mental health. So now I feel like I'm a stronger person though, because I've learned more about mental health. I'm a mental health advocate, and I was there, like Patch Adams. Have you seen the movie Patch Adams? Like
No.
being like the comedian, for people to cheer them up no matter what they're going through. And I enjoy that, and that's something that I've kind of made me realize, especially over this last year. So it's making me feel like a little bit more of what I meant to do.
Is there any particular way that you enjoy on how to help others? Like what sort of emotions do you want them to have?
I think I feel good anytime where it's like the one-on-one. I feel like the most. You get kind of a feel just by if I help anybody, or if I just make some people laugh or something, or they say that I made them feel better. That's nice. But like I actually like having those one-on-ones where I know I can impact somebody more, because the feeling it gives me is doing good for other people just makes me feel better. So it's a selfish thing, but yet we're helping each other. So I enjoy doing it. I feel good about it. I want to make somebody else feel better that way. So I know one-on-ones work, and that's kind of why I've kept thinking through about having a studio where I can actually have more one-on-ones and actually be in person impacting people, for us to come together and then impact other people from there.
Is that something that keeps you going throughout this whole entire time? Is this like the main reason by helping others that kept you going?
It's just the passion, the love for it, because the more results, and this is kind of the hard part with keeping going, period, but that passion, that love for it, you get these little results, even if it's from one person, like one person is still something. And the thing is like that kind of feels the fire a little bit more, but just being like overall passionate about doing it. And that's why I liked adding in the care portion of it, or being able to help even as like an EMT to that extent. It's like being there for people or being able to help somebody makes me feel better. If I can make somebody laugh, if I can joke around, make somebody laugh, like that makes me feel better. But it just fuels the fire for the passion. But there was a period where like I got no response and I was just looked at as weird. I've been made fun of, like mocked. And in the earlier days of the internet, they were hard. Like trolls were really hard at that time. And like a lot of that stuff gets blocked or censored now. But like people were mean, back in the day. And still having people out there, but it was really bad when like YouTube first came around. But it's very discouraging if you pay attention to it. You can't pay attention to hate. You just got to keep moving forward, knowing that you're impacting people. If there are things that you take too far or maybe isn't appropriate and stuff, and kind of retract that and adjust. But it's all about just trying to adjust and maintain that pace and keep moving forward.
Right. Like during this last couple of years, do you experience burnout? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that I know I do too much, because if you're constantly pushing and forcing everything, you're gonna burn out. And the number one thing, and the reason why I dealt with mental health so bad, is because of the sleep deprivation. I was sacrificing sleep. I had a family. I was working full-time job and doing this stuff as much as I could. But you have to get your sleep in, like 7 hours for sure. Allow yourself to write, clear your mind, allow yourself to think clearly when you're going into making content. It's just like you can't force it, no matter how bad you want to get all of it out there or you need to. It's just better for yourself and everyone else if you take the time to kind of get your sleep and rest, because I've hit burnout multiple times, and I always tell myself I'm not going to do it again. But then meanwhile, I'm trying to hit a deadline, which is like an impossible deadline. Like you need to prioritize sleep, definitely.
right. For someone like you with multiple interests, right?
Mhm.
How do you balance your passion with other aspects of your life?
Yeah, it's always difficult, but yet with my job, since like I was saying, I drive not like a forklift or a clamp truck, but since I'm driving most of the day, I think up everything in my head, and then when I have a time to stop, I can write it down. So that way I prioritize and I come up with all the ideas while I'm working, and then that way as soon as I home, I can get working on everything else. But the one thing is, it takes away a lot of time away from family. I don't really hang out with friends. Dating is hard, like I've been through relationships where somebody's always just, it makes it very difficult to uphold a relationship because of the demanding schedule for myself. That for me, knowing where I'm going, I just put all that, like put it all aside, because I have kids, they're my priority. But other than that, everything else just gets set aside, and I'm focused on just the work right now. Because if you really want that to pay off, you really want to sacrifice things in your life to get there. And the one thing you shouldn't be sacrificing is sleep, but time with friends, get rid of it. Girlfriend, get rid of it. You have to kind of throw this stuff out, unless you have somebody that's willing to do it with you and support you. But other than that, it's too difficult.
You seem really emotional about wanting more for relationship wise. Why is
Oh
that?
yeah. I had a good marriage, but yet I couldn't balance both, and I know that. And the thing is, though, is it's the lonely. There's loneliness when you are on this path. If you're trying to succeed, you're gonna experience loneliness. It's gonna happen no matter what. And I know it's still a problem even after, but not as much. It's just on this route where nobody really believes in you. Like if you have nothing to prove, people just aren't going to believe in you. So you just have to believe in yourself, keep going. But it is a lonely route. It's hard to get people to share that vision with you, everything. So the thing is, you're always kind of thinking. I think back about what I had. I had this nice little family life, but then where I want to go, I know it's something that's achievable again. So I try to just put it off, and then I just kind of joke about it because really I just don't have that much time. It's another thing that I just kind of joke about.
What sort of regret of you um, during the marriage? What sort of mistakes that you think you have done that
It was,
you would like to change?
yeah, it was 100% the work because of how much time I devoted to it. But the thing is I've done it for so long. The passion consumes me, you know. And the thing is when it came to my marriage, like I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm very passionate, you know, like I'm over the top. I write poetry, you know, roses, and you know, always do everything to the extreme. And the thing is like trying to live that life. You're you have to pander to your passion and to the person that you're with, and it's difficult because you have two loves, you know. And really with anybody, it's like your two loves are always going to be in conflict with each other. So I kept putting off one thing for work, or I would put off one thing and it would get to me because I'm spending time with her, or you know, something just back and forth. Really, I regret, I guess, the lack of understanding, being understanding of what I was doing and what that felt like for her. That I do regret. But either way, that's not something that would have worked out with how I took the passion, how seriously I did it. Because I'm not just a day job, you know, like I always felt like I was meant for more. And that's something that is like a need, something that's very deep down in me. And it's unfortunate that my marriage couldn't work through that. But yet, now that that failed, I feel like I have to succeed.
Right. You, is there anything that you will want to change if you are able to turn back time?
If I was able to turn back time, no. And really, I have to go through. So the old me needed to go through everything that I needed to go through to get to where I am. I wouldn't really change anything, no extra help, anything, because it put me in this place, in this state where it's this confidence, but yet humbleness, like very humble, but yet very confident in what I'm doing and my capabilities, knowing that I'm constantly growing. And for me, I look at it like I'm at like 10% potential and I'm still working towards, you know, more. But this mindset that it gave me and the resourcefulness, the independence of going through all of it without having to rely on somebody or have somebody come in to save the day, I would not go back and actually change the thing.
What mindset has changed since from then to
It's
now?
Yeah, it's the ability to it's that independence to rely on myself. I learned what I needed to know to respond to myself, or like know how to make it through. Um, the situations and everything I am are unfortunate, but yet it all built me into this better person. It gave me more drive, more confidence, and it allowed me to really focus on who I am as a person and what I'm capable of. Affirmations of telling myself that this is I made the image of who I'm going to be, and I just keep every day is just a step towards it. So there's no going back. It's just every day has to be a step towards it. And just knowing who it is that I want to be or like what I'm talking about, every day it's just another step towards it. And I know that it's going to pay off eventually. And if you look at it any other way, you can't think like, oh, maybe it's not going to work out. You can't think that way. You just got to know that if it happens within the next year or if it happens in the next 60 years, either way, it's going to happen.
How are you so confident about the future? You're always talking about a step forward for the tomorrow, for the next few years.
But I had this saying, it said, success is forged by failure. So you will not know unless you go out and try, and then you have to fail. So success is just a staircase of failure. You just keep failing. So the thing is, if you have that mindset, you can never fail at life because you may have thousands of failures before your success, but no matter what, you can't fail because you're constantly going to be tweaking everything. So you know what it takes to succeed, you know what it takes to get there, and what you do is just constantly tweak it. You try something, it fails, you learn from it, you take your next step of failure and your next step of failure to get there. So the thing is that mindset is attainable by realizing that failure doesn't set you back, it sets you forward. You just have to make sure you fine tune it for the next one. And as long as you keep doing that, you will win.
Right. Is this sort of lessons that you learned so far, like throughout this whole conversation? Is this something that you will want to teach to others?
Yeah, it's something that I'll write a lot about this stuff, different poetry or just thoughts and stuff. I have another page. It's underscore JH underscore visuals, and that's kind of where this all started. This whole trip for success. But I wrote a lot about it on there. But this is stuff that I personally had to use, and it's not just about success. It's even just about overall fulfillment and happiness in your own life. So I've had to make these strides of just sitting there thinking, okay, this is who I'm going to become, or this is what it's going to take. But like knowing that through a lot of pain and suffering, success is being happy. Like not everybody's happy. And then at that point, you can succeed financially, you can succeed throughout your career, and these goals are there. But really, you have to start on yourself. If you are happy with yourself, you're happy with who you became and who you're going to be. That's where it's at. But I will constantly share that, and that's the same thing back to the studio, something that I would share with anybody there, because once you've gone through it, it is so much easier to talk about it. You can hear it from somebody, you can read it, you can see tons of motivational stuff, watch documentaries or biographies and stuff, but you will not know until you go through it yourself. So like everybody needs to fail, like no matter what, everybody's got to go through it. The more difficult it is, the better off you are, in my opinion.
The future. You mentioned about building a studio for content creators to actually do stuff and giving a lot of impact for others through your content. Like, what about the other aspects of your life? How does the future you want it to be in terms of maybe say your relationship with your kids and your future relationship? Like, what about all those other aspects besides?
So I know for me, to the point of a studio, being a content creator, doing outreach foundation, and then having a marriage again, a successful marriage. Even with my kids are very creative. I always kind of encourage them, to the creativeness. I would love them to kind of take up everything that I'm doing. Their names also start with a J. My initials are JH. I got a tattoo, so their initials are JH too. And it was always an intention of mine for them to kind of take over anything that I built. And no matter how I feel like I'm getting older or it's like too late, if people say that, I'm like, I'm still young, and I'm gonna achieve that for them. They're 10 and 7 right now, so they still have time, and I still have time to make it happen. But yeah, that's ultimately what I want to do, and I want to be a role model to them, and I want to be a role model to a lot of people, and I want them to feel that love through there, and then educate themselves too on helping other people and also building, their knowledge and contribute to what I build for them.
Your passion and everything in the content creation is how will you describe why you get into it? Is it something that you're good at? That making people laugh is something that you're good at? Or is it because of some role models that you look up to that inspired you to get into it?
I think it's because the stuff that comes the most naturally or the stuff that's just like easy for me to do. And the role models and stuff that I have, like there's plenty of comedians that I look up to, but then there's also business people and stuff I look up to. But mostly it's like I'm just inspired by creativity as a self. Anybody that is a musician, inspired by them, comedians, and how they use their craft. So for me, there's so many different things that I do. It's hard to like I can be good at 1,000 things, but I may not be great at one. So figuring out a way that I'm good at 1,000 things, which makes me great at one. And that's kind of as like a producer and stuff, helping other people and creating. But I, so much of what I do, I'm inspired by people like Dr. Dre. I'm inspired by people like Gary Vaynerchuk. Um, Inspired by people like, I love Chris Farley. That was one of my favorite comedians. Also, Jordan Peele is another person I think is awesome. But like, these are people that I fine tune their own craft and in their own ways. And the thing is I'm like, I'm doing a lot and I'm still trying to figure out that like final thing, but yet there's too many things that I do that is just good for me to stop at any one of them. Like I know it's going to kind of come together and right back to the whole, studio producer, bit. But I'm still at a point where my life is leading up to something. I just do pretty much everything you can think of when it comes to content creating.
Chris, the comedian, like, what is the thing that get you so hooked into him? Like
Chris Farley?
yeah.
How can you not? It's just funny. Like, I don't know, Saturday Night Live, it just stood out to me. And when I was younger, like I was kind of a chubby kid when I was younger. So that's when I first got into him. He was on Saturday Night Live still at that point. So I just loved how he joked about himself. I was, he would get made fun of and stuff in school. So I kind of realized the same technique was to get that to stop, was to make fun of myself and pretty much act the same way he did. And that's why, it's an easy way to handle those emotions of being like picked on or bullied is just by making fun of yourself, but it doesn't solve the mental health aspect of it. And that's what I was saying. I was kind of glad that I went through my own mental health issues over this last year or two, to kind of figure out how to handle what's up here rather than just writing it all off as a joke or just, like pushing it down further. And I've always went about it the more comedian way where I just made fun of myself, even though it still hurt. Like the things that I laugh at the most and the things that I joke about the most are the things that hurt the most. And that was just kind of a defense mechanism, that I had. And Chris Farley was the very one that inspired that in the first place, because that's who I listened to the most back when I was in middle school and got picked on and stuff in that way.
What is like the most important trait that you would say that you want to be able to get good at, that he has that you don't have?
His humor is just, it is like hilarious. But there's also, he used his, what he is given. He just took what he was, given, and he was able to twist that into a form of humor that like other people can't really match up to. It is, a lot about making fun of his own weight, but yet at the same time, like that is the trait itself, being able to joke about yourself, to allow yourself comfort of what anybody, like people make fun of you or anything like that. So instead you have that feeling of laughing with the person rather than laughing at them, and he was really good at it. And that was definitely, thinking back, I'm like, really, that was kind of his style of doing it. It was just making himself the joke. But so much now, knowing the psychological aspect of it, it's like that's a defense mechanism to bring yourself peace by entertaining others with something that you have an issue with, or if you have weight problems, or how you view yourself. And like we talked about a little bit earlier about like raps and stuff, like that's what I do. I have to take situations that are serious and hurtful for me, kind of brush them off, lighten them up by making fun of it. And it's like I'm not making fun of anybody else, but yet I have no problem kind of joking about myself. And that, I know, is just it helps, honestly.
How does it feel like to actually joke about yourself? Because I don't think it's something that anyone can do it, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess like there's a lot of people are take things very seriously, and
Yeah.
but I don't know. To me, it's the easiest way to brush things off, and I think that comes from pretty much when you're younger. You like have to be kind of bullied a little bit to be able to do it. to just joke about it. I don't know, because it's like really the easiest way to handle it. Because you can't always just sit there and defend yourself for something that you know was an issue for yourself. So the easiest way to handle it personally is joke about it, but there's always a deeper issue there that needs to be, you know, answered for yourself, to be like, I'm happy with the person, I'm happy with my body image, I'm happy with the person that I am or who I became. But I can think back and kind of joke about where I was because it was a difficult time. People make fun of me for it, but yet I'm a part of the joke now. But I think there's a lot of people have to do that. I think it's a survival technique.
Bullying, like you mentioned, you have to be bullied to become that person, to become strong.
Yeah.
Like, why so? Like, is there something that that you experience bullying that actually help you through?
Yeah, because other than that, you're just being picked on. You can try to ignore it, but then there's still the fact that they're pointing out something in you that exists. And if you take that too personally, even when you're trying to correct it, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, I don't know, like bullying to the point where people start to just make fun of their own, you know, insecurities. It's just something that happens. And I think that like the best comedians or people that joke that way all went through that, you know, to get it. And it's the people that it happened to the most. Like there's things I was interested in, like I got bullied over. There's weight things I got bullied over. Like I do so many things, so I'm hopping into the music industry and I get bullied over because they're like, you suck. You know, like there's just too many things. But yet, you have to be able to, I don't know, joke about it to take it. And I know there's people that like it puts a chip on my shoulder still, where I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And really, all it does is fuel the fire. Like I just want to, you know, succeed that much more because of every person that gave me a hard time, you know, then.
First and foremost, I'm I'm really happy to hear the things that you have shared so far. Thank you for. I find you to be very transparent with your learnings, the hardship that you went through, that you went through so far. I think it's a really hard process, and that I think you are doing a lot of great content. I can watch that throughout your content, that you're putting different sorts of content, and I can see that you are trying to bring laughs, and
Mhm.
that that is because you got inspired, and that you went through all these hard things that got you to be able to create such great content. So I really appreciate that that you are doing all this content.
Yeah, thank you.
And we I have this closing tradition for this podcast, and I want to ask you like just this one simple question: how are you doing right now?
Right now, I actually feel really good right now. It's I feel accomplished, and there's so much that I have to do every day, and so much work that I put in that like I'm not reaching that burnout phase anymore. But like I'm happy, and I always feel accomplished. So even though I'm not where I want to be, I always feel accomplished because I'm putting in the time to do what I love. I'm pursuing it. I'm not paying attention to any of the negativity. I just keep moving forward. I just keep moving forward, whether it's fail or not. So just by doing that and it being something I'm passionate about, I feel very happy and, um, you know, accomplished. There are things in my life that, like relationships and stuff, I would like to mend, and things that I may have put off this, you know, off the side and stuff to handle. But overall, I just feel accomplished. I feel good, happy.
Accomplished is why do you feel accomplished like right now?
Yeah, right now I feel accomplished because I know the work that I planned on doing today and I did. I know what I did yesterday and I keep moving forward in that sense. And even with you podcasts, like I'm like I could you know, there's other stuff that I could be doing, but then I wanted to because I mentioned earlier, it's like why not? Like why not? Because you have two creators here, you know, that can easily take this time meet. It's been great, talking with you. And it's outside of anything that I normally do, but yet it makes me feel accomplished just knowing that I did, like another person to reach out to. Everything is just a step forward. So it'd be ridiculous not to, and you're a great guy, man. This has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. So I'm glad that I did. Once again, feel accomplished, happy that I did.
Are you are you a lot happier than before right now?
Yeah, I'm happier now. The one thing that pulls me back is, like I said, hard with about the family, but the more that I focused on where I'm going to be here, it helps me to kind of rekindle that, the family thing. And then I just know that everything that I sacrificed for everybody in my family, ex-wife, kids and stuff, they all know what I'm sacrificing. So the thing is like to get that payoff would be the very thing that they hope for. And they know that is the sacrifice, So it's difficult. It's hurt some people, it's hurt me, but yet I'm going for that payout and everybody, supports that part of it. And for me, I can't see myself failing at all anymore. And it's a different feeling than I've ever had before. Because so much of the time I just give up. But now I'm just like, well, I can't go back. There's nothing to go back to anymore. Like I burnt those bridges. Like it's time I can only move forward. And the thing is if I fail, I failed hard, I failed in several ways, but yeah, I learned from it, got back up and started making more. I'm constantly trying to adjust everything that I'm doing. I'm starting to go a little bit more as far as the comedy goes to focus to more of a general population rather than like personal things that I've joked about. There's a big change in direction and I'm adjusting to the times and I'm adjusting for any circumstance that I've been in. And it's just a work in progress and I love doing it. I enjoy it. And as long as I keep enjoying it and I don't know, there's no real end in sight, but that doesn't mean that you don't hit those goals, those milestones, like I just want to keep working up and I'm happy doing that.
Thank you for joining us today.